The Ultimate Fighting Championship, or UFC, is now a global phenomenon, known for its intense fights and superstar athletes. But beneath the glitz and glamour lies a dark history filled with controversy, violence, and a struggle for legitimacy.
Today, we're diving deep into the murky past of the UFC.
It all began in 1993, when Art Davie and Rorion Gracie founded the UFC to determine the most effective martial art in a real fight. The first event took place on November 12, 1993, in Denver, Colorado. It was a no-holds-barred tournament with minimal rules, no weight classes, no time limits, and almost anything was allowed.
Royce Gracie, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu expert, dominated the competition, proving the effectiveness of his fighting style.
But the brutal nature of the event raised eyebrows. The early UFC events were raw and violent. Fighters suffered gruesome injuries, and there were very few safety measures in place. This raw violence attracted criticism from politicians, most notably Senator John McCain, who famously called the UFC human cockfighting. His campaign against the UFC led to the sport being banned in many states, forcing the organization to hold events in obscure locations where they could avoid regulation. As the UFC's reputation plummeted, its financial situation worsened. By the late 1990s, the organization was on the brink of collapse. Enter Dana White, a former boxing manager with a vision to turn things around. In 2001, he convinced his childhood friends, Lorenzo and Frank Fertitta, to purchase the UFC for $2 million.
They saw potential in the struggling organization and set out to transform it.
Dana White, appointed as president, spearheaded the UFC's transformation. He introduced standardized rules, weight classes, and rounds, making the sport safer and more appealing to mainstream audiences. The infamous no-holds-barred fights were replaced with regulated mixed martial arts contests. But the road to legitimacy was still filled with obstacles. One of the biggest challenges was securing sanctioning from state athletic commissions. This process was slow and arduous, with many commissions hesitant to approve a sport with such a violent reputation. However, through relentless lobbying and improving safety standards, the UFC gradually gained acceptance. In 2005, the UFC took a gamble that would change its fortunes forever. They launched The Ultimate Fighter, a reality TV show that brought fighters into the homes of millions of viewers. The show was a hit, culminating in an epic finale fight between Forrest Griffin and Stephan Bonnar. This fight is often credited with saving the UFC, drawing huge ratings and showcasing the sport's excitement and skill. But even as the UFC gained popularity, controversy never strayed far. One of the most contentious issues has been fighter pay. Despite the UFC's growing revenues, many fighters have complained about inadequate compensation. High-profile fighters like Randy Couture and Tito Ortiz publicly clashed with Dana White over pay and contract disputes. The UFC has been criticized for paying fighters a small fraction of the revenues they generate, leading to ongoing debates about fairness and equity in the sport. The UFC has also faced legal battles and accusations of monopolistic practices. In 2014, a group of former fighters filed a class action lawsuit against the organization, accusing it of anti-competitive behavior and unfair business practices. They claimed the UFC used its dominant market position to suppress fighter wages and stifle competition. The lawsuit brought to light the darker side of the UFC's business practices, raising questions about the ethics of its rapid expansion. Then there are the health concerns. Mixed martial arts is inherently dangerous, and the long-term effects on fighters are a growing concern. Repeated head trauma can lead to chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE, a degenerative brain disease. While the UFC has implemented better medical protocols and testing, the risk of serious injury remains high. The tragic case of Tim Hague, a former UFC fighter who died in 2017 after a boxing match, underscores the sport's inherent dangers. The UFC has also had to navigate the tricky waters of performance-enhancing drugs. Over the years, numerous fighters have been caught using banned substances, tarnishing the sport's reputation. To combat this, the UFC partnered with the United States Anti-Doping Agency, or USADA, in 2015, implementing one of the most rigorous drug testing programs in professional sports. While this has helped clean up the sport, it has also led to suspensions and controversies involving some of its biggest stars. Despite these challenges, the UFC has continued to grow, becoming a multi-billion-dollar enterprise. In 2016, the organization was sold to Endeavor for a staggering $4 billion, cementing its place as the premier organization in mixed martial arts. Dana White remains at the helm, steering the UFC through both triumphs and tribulations. The story of the UFC is one of transformation, from a controversial, fringe spectacle to a mainstream sport celebrated around the world. Yet, it is also a story marked by controversy, conflict, and the relentless pursuit of legitimacy. As the UFC continues to evolve, it's clear that its dark history will always be a part of its identity. reminding us of the complex and often contentious journey that brought it to where it is today. So, next time you watch a UFC fight, remember the blood, sweat, and controversy that built this empire. It's a testament to the resilience of the fighters and the vision of those who believed in the potential of mixed martial arts, despite its dark and tumultuous beginnings.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through the dark history of the UFC.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more deep dives into the world of sports. Until next time, stay curious and stay informed.